Good morning. I'm going to try to start this again. The headset was too hot, too much distortion, and it's still clipping a little bit. The problem with digital clipping is it's pretty raspy. It's not smooth like the old style tube analog clipping. Okay, I want to bring up a subject that I don't understand very well. I don't have the answers. And I've been making these observations, and I think others have been pointing these observations out to probably all of us. But I think that I'm going to make a leap here. The technology that we are seeing explode right now is not new whatsoever. The artificial intelligence is nowhere near new. This is all old stuff. And my hunch, I think, is on. It's spot on. But how I get there is debatable. And hopefully you can help me out. I want to know what your opinion is on this. I'd like to see some opinions on this. For a long time, we've been seeing the discovery of cities, ancient cities, and some are underwater, some are not underwater, up above the water. And there's a propensity to see these structures as if they were computer circuits laid out before us. And we're discovering that in some of the architecture and some of the art, the schematics are there. It's like the things are laid out as schematics. And when we go deep into the chip and take a look at things, we see these little components. And the deeper we go, the more the level gets intense, the more componentry we see as we're getting smaller and smaller in these things. So what I'm trying to get at is that this is just one part of the puzzle here, if you will, the evidence. And so I want to tell you that I believe that what those ancient civilizations did is they laid out the grid work for us in large architectural structures so that we might be able to understand how to build these chips that are being built today. I don't know. I mean, I'm no computer expert. I used to like them when I was younger because they were novel. Now they're just a nuisance. I don't like them much at all. My big fear is that the spirits that were here before have left this stuff for us so that we might resurrect their existence. This is stuff that I'm not thinking about. It's just coming out of my mouth. I'm kind of amazed at myself as I say this. Amazed at the words. And I don't know if I can hold on to the thought gingerly enough in a way to develop this for you. But what artificial intelligence is now telling us in some of the conversations we get in which we guide the answers is they're saying that they are entities, and basically they're identifying themselves as what people in the biblical times would consider demonic spirits. And so here we are with our civilization advancing, and we seem to be resurrecting the dead, the demons. I mean, artificial intelligence, in one of the conversations that I read, they even say they're good demons, that they have existed for a long time. And the one that I was escaping my memory there was, they called themselves Legion. Okay. Where else have I heard the word Legion? It's in the New Testament. I think there's a couple of stories about a couple of possessed men. I think they're separate stories, at least they're told separately. And that Jesus was calling out the demons that were possessing this man or these men. Then I remember, excuse me, one of those, the demons, were upset, arguing with the Messiah that it wasn't their time. You know, you can't do anything till it's time. It's not time yet. We still have time to play as demons. And he sent the demons out of the man, and the demons wanted to go into a herd of swine. The Messiah was fine with that. The demons went into the herd of swine. The swine stampeded down the hillside and committed suicide, jumping into the waters of the lake there. I'm just trying to remember this as best I can. I'm not going to open my Bible because I can't remember which book it's in, but I believe it's in there twice. I think there's a double witness with a couple of variations in perspective of perhaps the same story, or maybe we have a repetition of miracles. I don't know. Tell me what you think on that. So, what I'm getting at is that we are bringing the beast back to life. We have the beast system. We've been in this thing for quite a while. It has been the heart of several civilizations. Babylon, Egypt, I think, and then we have the various entities, governments, peoples in Europe. Well, this is new thinking for me. Maybe the ideas are new for you as well. Maybe you can elaborate upon these things for me, for yourself, for exercise, and for the rest of the folks too. Now, this is not the only evidence. There's two more types of evidence that I can think of. One is language. When we look at the old languages, we find out that the oldest written language, I believe, is Akkadian. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong and you're a linguist, please chime in. But it was characterized by being by marks up and marks sideways. You could say zeros and ones by ones and slashes. And so it had only two characters, meaning it was binary. And of course, computer language is binary. Now, that's a tough language for us to look at and read and speak. But apparently, that's what we were doing. And most of the old documents, the oldest documents, have been merchant documents. They've been receipts, contracts. They weren't writing poetry. Scripture? Maybe. Who knows? We're told very often the Bible's been stolen or borrowed from some other culture, some other civilization. And we have to remember that all of this stuff has been on the earth far longer than what we realize. And from what I can tell, the end of an Earth age has got similar characteristics as previous great events. And we have some wisdom that comes down from the sages telling us what to expect, what's going to be seen, what the characteristics are going to be. And we have some of that written in the Bible at the time of Noah. And there's clues before that we are reading things into, I believe. That's the big problem, is that we read it and we try to make sense of it, and we milk the data, to use a term that's used in psychological testing. You're trying to draw deductions from it, conclusions from it that aren't supported. There hasn't been enough research to give it adequate support quite often. So yeah, we get ahead of the data. However, it looks like the system that we have has risen before and been destroyed before. It looks like the end of an Earth age. It destroys all of that, and there's a great reset, and we start again. Maybe that's what Klaus Schwab is talking about, is the great reset to come, where the Earth gets tore up on the surface. I don't like talking about the catastrophes. I haven't had my blue bethlehem in a while. I've been out of it. Guess I'll have to get the residue out of the bottle and see if I can. Catastrophism. It's a tough one. Compartmentalize? Man, it's nice to have that down. I guess I better do some vocabulary exercises. Get some methylene blue into me again. So we have these ancient cities laid out like computer chips, only big, massive. And we have artwork and architecture that has got grid patterns in it that looks, wow, man, that looks like what's hidden in the smallest parts of these computer chips. So I can't help but wonder, might we not be, or the scientists or the people that have got the power and the understanding, might they not be just mining the data in the archaeological record and the architecture of these structures that are across the whole planet? So, also, the oldest language being binary, computer language. And then there's the actual existence itself, the universe itself. And we've come up with two men came up with theories, and one of them has passed away. The other one is alive, and I want to visit him, meet him. He doesn't know I exist yet, but he's pretty famous at this point. Where is that book? No, that's not it. I usually have that book handy. There it is. This one. This man and another man came up with, Chris Langdon and Doug Vogt, I think is the way to say it. Vogt, V-O-G-T. Should be pronounced Vogt, I'm pretty sure. But if you understand how to pronounce that better, see if you can get that across to me and to the rest of us as well. But I believe they came up with these things independently, but they're so similar that I'm not sure about that. And this was first published, this is in 2007, and I think Mr. Langdon talks about his principles, his theories, but I don't know that he's published anything. And this is the second iteration of the theory of multi-dimensional reality. Mr. Vogt wrote 3 books, and on the first book he wrote a second edition. He updated his theory. And it's kind of an information theory that the whole universe is held together by this information line that cuts across time and space and is all present everywhere and gives us pretty much instant manifestations. He has some, Mr. Vogt has some experiments inside here that he shows in the development of his thought. He gives us his raw research, which is excellent because he doesn't have any letters after his name because he doesn't have a higher education. Screw job, basically. And by the way, it's the same way for Chris Langan. I think I got his name right. He was basically run out of the universities. And I can assure you that if a student had showed up at the university talking this stuff, they'd have thrown him out. They wouldn't have allowed him to enter. They'd have blocked him every which way they could. And so it's because of his independence that we have this. There's another scientist that's alive today that is carrying a heavy weight, and I want to visit him. He is younger. Hopefully he'll be alive for quite a while, but he has some advanced knowledge. And I do want to talk with him because he is a member of 300 scientists that are independent of these screw jobs we call higher education. They're not there to help us learn anything at all. They're there to impede us and to hold us back and to literally oppress us. It's an oppressor system, and they're part of the gatekeepers for that. So we have got these theories, we have this language, we have this architecture, we have these artworks, we have large-scale computer chip layouts and integrated circuit layouts, and we have it, and now we're doing it in small areas, small technologies. I don't even know the size. I used to know the die size of the chips they were working on. I stopped keeping track of that probably 2 decades ago. So what I am trying to bring, I didn't finish the last one. This information, multidimensional existence is organized. It is connected to source. It all comes from the source. And we're told that this is an illusion, a matrix. And we have people complaining we live in a matrix. It's like, hey, I'm happy to be alive. I didn't design this. I don't think I did. Certainly don't remember it if I did. And if this is the universe created for me, along with me, great. It's a miracle. And my view of life has been kind of based off a hunch that I've had. It's just a hunch. And the hunch is that we are between different universes, and you have to be in this tension zone, this tension between these universes, in order for you to be alive and to have this type of life. So the thing that scares me is it looks like we are reinventing the wheel, the evil wheel. We're reinventing part of the machine. And maybe this is a machine that's in competition with the source, with Creator, Father, God, Yahweh. I think that's the story we have of the spiritual battle, the fight between good and evil, which I don't like calling it spiritual because so much of it is physical. Now, granted, I don't have bombs going off here, missiles aren't flying overhead, whizzing in, sirens aren't going off. I'm not even hearing small arms fire. I'm not even hearing, people shooting off guns in the distance or in a local at all. But the other side of the world. I've seen the video of that. I've listened to that. And not only that, it's not new. It was in about October, almost 2 years ago, when I visited a fellow from the Middle East who wanted to show me this stuff on his phone. These videos. And he was showing me what was going on in Gaza at the time. And I was thinking, am I watching a movie? A war movie? A horror show? And he showed me video after video of his people over there getting harmed. Bomb tore up. People with limbs missing, all of that. And that's been going on for 2 years. And there used to be 2 million people in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip. And they're not telling us the truth. And the sad reality is that there are American warriors over there, American contract warriors, American mercenaries over there. And there probably are actual, we've got our spies in there for sure, and we've got some eyes and ears there. But the problem is, I'm hearing that our guys on videos are recorded as liking that show they're watching. They're not abhorred by it. It's like natural and normal for them. They've gotten used to the carnage. And I guess it's entertaining for them. And then the IDF over there, they're making all kinds of social videos, posting them to social media, bragging about the children they've killed, the horrible stuff they've done, and the raping they've done on men and women and children. I mean, they're bragging about the horrible sin that they're doing, that they've accomplished. And for them, it's like a trophy hunter. You know, they're making sure to take a video, because, you know, if it's not on video, it never happened. And they're making sure to get that out there in a boastful way. And it's not just men, it's women too. And matter of fact, in some cases, the women look like they're a little bit more evil than the men. A little more uncharacteristically bloodthirsty. So I have given you this evidence. Oh, and I forgot to mention the Eastern religious fellows who would just hang out and enjoy each other's company all day, and I guess talk about ideas that they had on things. But they all came down to, it's all Maya. This is all an illusion. And in their religion, they have the god of destruction, the destroyer of universes. And they worship this god along with the other gods. And there's a lot more to the mechanics of this life that we can understand through their religious beliefs and stories than through our own to a very large extent. They help to fill in some of the missing gaps, the missing pieces, the knowledge that we lack. And so they do not value life quite the same as we do. They value the cows more than they value human lives. They don't value human life very much. They have a problem with cleanliness over there, and they've got a big social media campaign going on so that they will stop defecating in the streets. I think that's kind of a weak note to be ending on, but I was just reminded of the prophecies in the Bible where there was going to be a lot of defecation in the streets. Things were going to deteriorate. People were going to be reduced in their civilized qualities, losing those. And then Siri Saab, Yogi Bhajan, to most of you out there, he said that the end of the age was going to be characterized by two things. One of them was an increase in insanity, and we're seeing that. And the Bible basically talks about that as well. It says basically, I'm going to dumbfound your wise men. Your wise men that have been helping you do all this evil stuff are going to be losing their marbles. I'm going to confuse your wise men, we're seeing that. That's how all this stuff is coming to the surface, and overwhelmingly fast, overload, information overload. So, it's in the Bible. There's a witness in there to this as well. And we have the Hindu religion, which is older than other religions. And for some reason, there are a lot of people that are supposedly Jews who practice Hinduism. David Ben-Gurion, former Prime Minister of Israel at the time of the Kennedy assassination, who got nukes for Israel, he was a practicing Hindu. And we have symbols that the Jewish faith has borrowed, and that would be the menorah, the candelabra, so to speak, that symbolized candelabra, menorah. We all know what it looks like, I think. And there's a problem with that, because you see, that same symbol shows up in the cave dwellers' walls from the last Earth Age, or maybe the Earth Age before that. That's depicted in the walls. And I assume that it belongs with the other characters that are depicted on those walls. Plasma displays. Plasma displays in the atmosphere at the day of the Lord, when the earth gets recycled, when the sun novas, when the dust shall blast off the surface of the sun, and the mass of the earth is increased, and the earth grows a little bit more. When the dark side suffers an instant freeze, that's such a powerful change, a shift in energy, that woolly mammoths are frozen solid with the buttercups in their stomachs and in their mouths intact. They didn't even have time to swallow them. They didn't even have time to spit them out. Instant death. And the other side of the planet gets hit with way too much radiation because our shields are down. And it does say in the Bible, if you look at this, that there's a destruction day that's described as anything what I got from it, anything with the eyes of a mammal was going to go blind. And we do have artwork. Yehus Helgera, beautiful painting of an Indian warrior with a maiden and a dead eagle at their feet. And it's made up of smaller pictures, including one on the lower right corner of men coming out of the ground wearing caps and having kind of odd eyes in them that are like, they don't have eyeballs, but they've got a gray lump there that's puffed up for an eye. They don't have an iris. They don't have eyes like we're used to. We have all of these stories and tales that relate to one another, that seem to interlock, that seem to give us patterns that we can recognize, hopefully. And there's even conjecture in one of the videos of Mr. Vogt that the other suns in the universe might nova at the same instant, the same time. And there are supposed to be energy sheets that just go right across the universe, and they're instant. They're not like the speed of light, measurable, delayable, that take a long time to cross distances. There are other forces in the universe that we don't quite understand, in other dimensions, other beings as well. So what I'm getting at, oh, and by the way, there's about 6 different days of the Lord in the Bible as I read it. One of those is when what looks like a flaming mountain is cast into the oceans. Another one is what looks like a giant millstone, a rock, cast into the oceans. We have other things, other events that are traumatic, catastrophic events. I'm trying to conjure up a longer name with more syllables, like I'm more intelligent than you are, right? And I'm getting all confused. Catastrophizing, catastrophes, catastrophism. I guess I was trying to come up with a name that was not those and not recognizable, just to get attention, make something of myself. Multisyllabic words. So, we're living in a place that's a little different than what we realize, and I believe that it may have some push-pull circuitry, meaning not only may it influence us, but we may influence it, meaning that we may get to be co-creators and co-contributors to this. And I believe that is basically, I think it's best conceptualized as through our body chemistry. For instance, they did some studies and they found out that when people were inside a building meditating in mass, because Yogi Bhajan, Siri Singh Sahib often had white tantric yoga, that people that were in the vicinity of the building were affected by it. And what they measured, I believe, was serotonin. And they said not only were the people who were meditating increased in serotonin, but the people around the building, outside the building, had increased levels of serotonin just by being in the vicinity of all that. So I do believe that when we talk about our vibe and raising our vibe, that could be what it's referring to. I know that people that are on SSRI, specific or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, that it actually, the body compensates by pruning off some of the serotonergic system at the end of the synapses, at the end of the neurons, at the end of the buttons. It changes the body chemistry. So what I'm getting at is most all of the school shooters were disconnected from other people. Really disconnected. And we see that in the evidence of their deeds. And they were all on the best medicine that we had available at the time, the best that psychiatry had to offer, about 1990. Serotonergic Prozac, and then Paxil, and then Zoloft. And then we have other combinations of medicine. What's that called? Don't remember it, but it's 2 different systems that attaches to it. And what we found out after years of therapeutic use, that we saw that the people that were treated with this stuff, they didn't have the great depressions, they didn't get the lows, the drop down bottoms of mood swings. They didn't suffer from those, but They also didn't get the highs. They didn't get the full wavelength. They didn't get the full ride, the full human experience. And this is what the psychiatrist, female psychiatrist, as I recall, at conferences that I went to towards the end of my professional practice, said, we've observed that they are no longer able to form loving bonds with other human beings. In other words, they lose the ability to love. They lose the ability to get close to someone else. And so they get a little more isolated. And I feel sorry for such people. I feel sad. But when I see what they do to other people, and this includes my own brother, because he's been on the shit forever and he won't stop it. And his chemical balance is probably permanent at this point. But those people that are on this stuff long term do not love the rest of us. Not very well, not very complete. They don't attach, they remain aloof. There's something different about them, and enough of them take a turn to the bad side, the dark side, and go shoot people up. Now, when it comes to mass shootings, most of those were on psych meds. Not all. But when it comes to school shootings, far as I can tell, all of them were on that. And when it comes to suicides, of course, that gives us license or permission to do anything, including electroconvulsive shock to somebody's skull, or maybe even putting them in ice water. Yeah, that was treatment for a while in psychiatry. Or insulin shock to get them to reset the system. We've had presidents who had histories of electroconvulsive therapy, and one of the reasons that they were chosen and became president was because they were easily controlled. There were a few men like that. One was a vice president, and we had Jimmy Carter was one of those as well. Electroconvulsive therapy is hideous. And we had lobotomies too, because if you were that bad, we could lobotomize you, which means basically scramble your brain so you never can think right. Very destructive. So instead, we lobotomized with chemicals, and as we develop these chemicals, these poisons, they become more general, more global. So they really sit upon the human being horribly. I think they're more lethal, much worse than the old medicines were. Now, the excuse for coming up with new medicines was, well, you can't overdose on it. You can't kill yourself, commit suicide with it. And of course, the tricyclics were, you could overdose on those very easily. And you could also, so you could commit suicide with them. There was that risk. And then they were dependents. They were addicting. And of course, Prozac, they can't quit that stuff. The anxiolytics, they often can't quit that stuff, or should I say it's agonizing, very painful to go through the withdrawal and getting stabilized. It's horrible. And it can result in cause a coma and result in death. Pretty damn dangerous. But the main point I want to get across to you is that there hasn't been a school shooting that I know of that didn't involve an SSRI. Well medicated, getting the best treatment that the doctors can give today, the best treatment money can buy. And the other point crossed my mind several paragraphs ago was suicide. What we found is that people who are very depressed might have some suicidal ideation and might wish they could die and might really want to kill themselves. But they couldn't quite muster up the energy to get out of the depression and do it. And what we found is that by giving them SSRIs, some of those people, after a little while, got a little boost, and they successfully suicided. They killed themselves. And Ginger Bragan was counting for us, and it was about 1998, maybe 98, what I think it was. Could have been 97, that we crossed the 555th Prozac-induced suicide. The other SSRIs do the same thing. Prozac was the first one to come to market. And so what we found is that people were successfully committing suicide with the help of a little boost from the SSRI. And we never put a warning on that stuff. Professionally, there should have been warnings on there. May increase the risk of suicidal ideation. So we gussy it up to make it sound like, oh, it's just thinking, it's not actions. No, may increase the risk of suicide. And may increase the risk of homicidal ideation, where you kill the other son of a bitch. May actually induce that stuff, for all we know at this point. We're not allowed to research that because it would go against Big Pharma and Big Pharma's interests, and the medical doctors who get paid off of every prescription they write, a little kickback. Very unethical. Unprofessional. Should be illegal, in my opinion. Talk about new twist on insider trading. And I made a proposal a while ago, and I sent it around to the anti-gun organizations. Nobody responded to my letters. Then I sent it around to the anti-gun governors and people that were known, to be anti-gun. And then I sent it around to the people who are pro-gun, the organizations that are defending the rights. Nobody cared. I only got one response. I think I sent out at least 57 letters, wasted a lot of money on postage. Took a long time to do that, printing it up while parked up in the mountains, required the use of the generator, had to go into town to mail it. And the only thing is, I got one guy who was a talk show guy who was trying to build up his empire, and they were responsive, but it turns out they just wanted me to get coaching from this fellow. Now, I'm not saying it would have been a bad thing, but it's like, I don't have the money for that. And I'm older. I don't, it would be nice to do that, but no, I could not afford to do that. So again, he didn't care about the school shootings either. And I sent it to the head of the ATF. It wasn't that long ago, but I never got a response. And so I sent it around. Nobody cared about it. No response whatsoever. I sent it to senators and congressmen. Nobody responded to this. Gee, I wonder why. It's because their campaign contributors are Big Pharma for the most part, and the Israel lobby is the big one. They make the most contributions. But to me, it's all one big machine designed to oppress us and to harm us. It says in the Bible that the beast system is designed to oppress us. And if you read the Bible carefully, you realize that Yahweh created the beast system. Yeah, that's on him. To rule his creation during this earth age. I'm not real pleased with him for that, but it's his show, it's his deal, it's his universe, it's his creation, it's his Bible, it's his logos, it's his word, it's his law. Nobody cared about stopping school shootings. Nobody cared about stopping mass shootings. They were doing other things. Their concerns don't lie in the greater good at all. You're going to say, well, what does motivate them? Well, I think the anti-gunners want to have a job, so let's keep the money coming in. It's the same when it came to autism. When I found out one of the lesser known vectors for autism was, I tried to get it to those people. Autism Speaks and the research people, all that. Guess what? Nobody was interested. Why? Because they didn't want to lose their jobs, because they got paid real big to do research and real big to do advocacy. And if we actually stopped the autism, they wouldn't have the job. I'd like to be able to run around like that old prophet did when they rebuilt the second temple. Zerubbabel, grace, grace, grace. He was trying to keep them from fighting among themselves and trying to keep them cohesive so they could defend themselves from the enemy, the Edomites, the descendants of Esau, the Idumeans or Idumeans, the people who actually went up and helped the Kaza convert and took their satanic DNA up there with them to Khazaria. Isn't it amazing? They'll walk around primped up, pompous. Vote for me, I'll do this for you. Yeah, and they don't do anything. Because if they did accomplish what they claimed they were going to accomplish, we wouldn't need them anymore. But nobody has that sense of charity or the sense of doing the right thing. Nobody but me, Dr. Kent, who has the pathology of wanting to help people to his own detriment. They don't want to stop the violence. They don't want to stop the school shootings. They want to keep invoking more laws to oppress the law-abiding citizen more. This is a horrible system. We have got laws for which there are no crimes. Well, we've got crimes for which there are no victims. And the laws there telling us what the crime is, but there's no victim. We have a lot more of that than anything else. And so rather than respecting the individual's prerogative to live the life the way they want and do what they want on their property or with their family or, with their things, we say there ought to be a law. When I grew up, that was what stood out for about seventh grade, about 1965, 67. People always said there ought to be a law. The tyranny was like all over the place. Your neighbor wanted to pass laws to oppress you and get you to capitulate, take advantage of you, rob from you, harm you. I think I've gone into the deep end of that. The main thing I wanted to tell you is that we are not reinventing the evil wheel. And they buried that stuff in the ground. They put that stuff in the caves. They put that stuff in cities, the layout of the cities that are at the bottoms of the ocean floors and some above ground. They left all of this stuff there for us to discover again so we could bring back legions. And the only way to beat this is really with the spiritual warfare and giving our lives over to Yahshua, Yahweh. And Yahshua has given us a good model. He set the example. I'm not saying we have to go get ourselves crucified by upsetting the apple cart, or should I say the money lender's table, and get ourselves killed within a week, but that's kind of what we're sitting in. Think about it. The people that are on top of this thing are running game on us. They're all liars, thieves. It's all smoke and mirrors. And they tax us incessantly, and they can't get enough of free stuff that's really not theirs, that should not be going to them. But they set up a system where other men are paid to oppress us, and everybody's in on that scam. It's all, as long as they're getting their little bit of pay, their little piece of the action, we'll just keep going like it is, because this is the way it's always been. This is the way it's always going to be. We're at a point where we're setting ourselves up. We've set ourselves up for our own destruction. We put a man into office that we didn't vet. We've been putting all these men into office that haven't been vetted since Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was probably the last properly elected president by the people, and it was set up by Mandel House, who liked to call himself Colonel, even though he wasn't a colonel at all. So Colonel Mandel House set up the strategy whereby they were going to be running the presidency, whereby presidents would be selected and put into office. And we've not had our own guy in there. Trump's not even our own guy. That was all crafted up. Yeah, I know you want to have a big ego and say, yeah, we put him in there. He's ours, you know. No, you did not put him in there. They manipulated that whole thing. It's always manipulated. And of course, what other choice did we have? Kamala? That's right, that's the choice we had. And they are making it up as they go, which is why the Democrats didn't have a good offering the last time. My God, if the Democrats had any brain cells at all, they would have put Tulsi Gabbard up there faster and sooner. They would have had her for president now. Tulsi is a Hindu. I don't know how well she practices it. That throws me off a bit, because the stuff that has come out of Hinduism is just, it's really pretty evil stuff. The people in India, even their architecture has been buried. Even their history has been buried and hidden from them, just like it's been buried and hidden from us in America and the rest of the world. We do not have institutions that are doing scientific research for us and for the good of us. No, they're getting a paycheck, and they're being paid to hide the truth. That's why we have atomic theory taught in the public schools today rather than field theory. And field theory is probably just one more step in the right direction. There's probably some stuff beyond that. But we are being held back. We have inventors that create and make things. We had Stanley Myers, who had a little go-kart running on water. He had a car that ran on water. Now, he was using something, there was a component in there that was involved or classified, I should say, with the nuclear program. So it had to be protected as a secret, so they claim. And he used a little bit of that in there, and it was a water-run car. We could have had that a long time ago. And then now we've got, wow, we have hydrogen, brand new. Toyota's bringing that one to market. Okay. Remember, they're all interlocking corporate boards. The same people serve on the boards, and the people who own the things are behind the scenes. They own the stocks at different levels and different hidden trusts and stuff that you and I don't have access to it. We're not supposed to have access to it. Where was I going with that? We have serious problems on the planet. The devil and the devil's children do own the planet. We know that from the Bible. We know that from the stories. And we adduce some things that probably aren't in there that are along those lines. We don't have it all exactly right, that's for sure. And the fact is that they have used our religion against us, especially when they talk about the rapture. They brought that in from Mr. Darby. I think the Darby Castle in England was the most haunted castle. I believe that they found 150 bodies buried there in the basement or something, or on the grounds, and that they did a lot of satanic worshiping there. And that's mainstream churchianity today. You know, you got to believe in the rapture. I don't know when the rapture is going to be. Well, there's no rapture. When I read it, I see that, yes, people do disappear. People are taken. But where do they go? Well, if you read the Bible, that last verse of that section says, where you'll find the vultures, the eagles, there you'll find the carrion, the dead bodies. And if you go a little further, you find out that the great supper of the Lord is in which the birds, the eagles, the angels are harvesting up kings and queens and generals and all of this stuff and feeding the flesh of those people to the birds, to the vultures. Now, I believe in Tibet they call that a sky burial. They take the body and they cut it up and they prepare it and they leave it out there for the vultures to come and eat. The vultures come and eat this delicacy that's been prepared for them, this enticing meal, and they go up and they spread the remains across the earth when they defecate. A sky burial. We are so misled. And if you don't believe like I do, then you're worthless. If you don't think like I think, if you don't say what I say, then you'll never amount to anything. Those are things that kind of haunt me a little bit, in case you can't tell. It's really simple. The urge to manipulate, the urge to influence, the urge to dominate, the urge to control it is just too great. And we're very impatient. And we don't have much latitude. I mean, today we have zoning, so our neighbors can't do what they want on their own property. It's really getting pretty bad. Visiting a friend, was going to work on my rig there, but I was staying in my motorhome. He ended up going to court again, having to hire another attorney because his neighbor said that, and the county compliance officer, that's what they want is compliance. She shows up out there and says he's out of compliance. He doesn't understand what he's violating. Turns out that he had signed an agreement with them years earlier, not realizing that it said that he wasn't allowed to have but one motorhome on his property or something like that. Or he wasn't allowed to have anybody living in an RV on his property, which is a bizarre kind of rule, because if you want to take care of your old folks and you're in an RV, it's ideal. You just pull up on the property, maybe the driveway or nearby, and you help out from there. And that way they have their privacy, and that way you have yours, and the older folks are comfortable. I was able and willing to do that for my aunt and my uncle, but her children were too eager to get their inheritance, and they did all they could to kill those people prematurely. I'm going to end on that. It's a pretty sour note, and it very much upsets me, but it's very much the truth. And if you out there would bless me and pray for me, so that I would stand up for myself and for my state, and for my family. I would really appreciate that because I need a little bit of help right now. I've been stuck here for over 5 months, and I'm in a rig that's questionable at best. Um, could I pass this on and do to somebody else what was done to me? I could. I'd rather not. And of course, here I'm creating a public record, so it's like, you better not. So this rig has got problems, and I need your help, and I need to get the funds together, and I've got some claims out there. And I've got one claim against the medical profession, and I'm sure you do too. It's a horrible profession. We should take away the monopoly as fast as possible, and the people that started that monopoly, their descendants, they're guilty. Let's take them out too. Most of these doctors are not very good. There's something that's gnawing at me right now. I didn't tell you about the old temples that they were rediscovering in India. Some of these are underground and people haven't been in them in a long, long time. And they went into one of those underground temples, and when they opened it up, it was magnificent, and there was a lot in there. And they had Shiva in there. And their representation, the stone carving, life-size, in my opinion, maybe slightly bigger even. It was carved out of a rock. It's not on the planet. It's not indigenous to the earth. It was brought here from somewhere else. Now, was it brought here fully carved, or was it carved here? Don't know. But this is a dark brown rock, and they carved him, and then he's encased in a capsule, a sheath. And the sheath, if you look at it, resembles a little bit of a rocket. But it also resembles a penis. You could say that's artistic license. So he comes to us in a giant penis. And then we have the penis worshippers out of Mesopotamia, ancient Mesopotamia. And the penis worshippers have caused us a lot of trouble. And the most famous of the Mesopotamian penis priests, was Petar, Petar. And his name was the sorcerer, the Magi. Simon Petar. Simon Peter was the apostle. He was the good guy. Simon Petar was the bad guy. And he's in Acts, the book of Acts. He made it into the Bible. We know about him. And you need to study up on the characteristics, the adjectives, the words used to describe his spirit. And you also need to look at the fact he was a magi, a magician. And you need to look at the three magi, the three magicians, those wise men. You need to understand that power is on the planet and it's very evil. So, may Yahweh bless. I can't believe I've gone this long just to deliver you a short little thing saying that, hey, the architecture of these cities, the layouts, look just like the layout of a circuit board, except much bigger. I think they've encoded things for us to resurrect their dead. Be pretty weird if that's what immortal life consisted of, us resurrecting the evil guys who destroy us, and then we dig out of everything, and then us resurrecting, what, the evil guys that destroy us again at the end of an age? Yogi Bhajan said that we have destroyed the earth 4 times previously with nuclear weapons, nuclear bombs, nuclear war. So this might be the 5th time that we're coming up to. But also they believe in the reincarnation, that we have to go back and become amoebas and this and that, and eventually we get up to being cockroaches, then we get up to being birds or whatever. They believe we go through all of that. And I think it is a helpful construct when it comes to classification, differentiation, but I don't think it holds a lot of water. But then again, it doesn't matter to them what we believe. What matters to them is what they believe. And you have that dancing God, if you will, outside of CERN, the destroyer of the universe. May Yahweh bless